to a very, very special episode of Super Bulky. It's extra special today because I'm joined by two people, a very special guest, and I guess a less special guest. This is my sister slash co-owner Heidi. She's actually not, she doesn't co-own me. She co-owns the Twisted Skein. And so I guess my sister slash business partner slash co-owner of the Twisted Skein, who has not yet appeared on Super Bulky, but this is her. And joining us is Alexandra of Alexandra the Art of Yarn, who's here in Bakersfield today doing trunk show and shop visit. We just finished up Stitches SoCal together. We were both showing there. So we had a busy weekend.
We did.
And then you decided to draw it out even longer and came up for a shop visit.
On my way home, love to stop at your shop, see all your customers, say hi to all the girls. It's fantastic fun.
Yeah. So, Alexandra, the Art of Yarn. How long have you been doing this? How long has
I've
this
been
your
dyeing
gig?
yarn since about 2008, and then I became an actual business in 2010.
Okay, so it's been a journey.
It's been a journey.
You've been there for a minute, too. What brought you to fiber arts in the first place? That's something I like to ask people. Like, how did we go from normal people to fiber people?
Well, I don't know about normal, but in 1991 I got sober, and in 93 all public spaces became non-smoking. And I couldn't sit still in a chair, so I actually picked up crochet because, you know, I had old school sponsorship. So they were like, no, you're going to sit still in the front of the room. And I'm like, really? So, you know, I picked up crochet. That first year I did something like 500 baby blankets for crack babies.
Yeah.
For a charity.
Yeah.
So that's really how I got started. And then I really wanted to learn how to knit socks, and I really couldn't. I had sock books, I had sock videos, I had sock needles, I had sock yarn, but I could not knit socks. And so I ended up finding a local yarn shop. That's actually how I started, you know, hanging out in yarn shops. A few years later, I started teaching in that yarn shop. I was teaching sock knitting in that very same yarn shop. And somebody came in with the coolest yarn I'd ever seen. And I asked her how she did it, you know, where she got the yarn. And she said, well, I made it. I dyed it. And I'm like, really? Really?
Let's learn more about that.
I think we should be friends. So we became friends. And then when she needed help doing her dye business, I would get to play in the pants after she was done. And that's really how I started.
Right.
And it just turns out that I'm naturally color sensitive. That I just naturally know how to put colors together.
So you didn't have to go to art school.
No. I've never had a dye class. I know there's a color wheel, but I don't really follow any of those rules. I know that there's dye books. I own a few, but I've never read one.
Just throw on the coffee table.
Yep, I just kind of just do it, and I naturally go in the studio and just play and think, you know, and I'm unlike other dyers. I don't metrically weigh my dyes. I don't do anything. I literally go in, I go whee, and yarn comes out, and then I can repeat that.
So I get the difference between being a baker and being a chef.
Yeah, I'm more on the chef side.
Or a cook. You just start mixing
I'm on the
things.
chef side of things, where you just kind of throw it all in the sauce and it comes out, and then I can repeat that sauce.
Right. Good.
Yeah.
So in terms of your color sense and the sort of things that inspire you, what is just like you have visions in your head and you think you know what you like, or is there like a source that you turn to?
Sometimes I come up with yarns because I want to repeat something that a commercial company is doing with a computer. And they're, you know, like, if you know how I used to be able to get those sock yarns that had all those breaks and lines and stripes. Okay. Well, I wanted to know if you could do that by hand without, like, metrically counting, like how you would do that. And so that was the precursor. That line of yarn was the precursor of figuring out how to make Dark Side of the Moon. You know.
Which is, we'll put a link to that in the description of the video, but it's a yarn with small repeating blips of color.
About 6 or 7 stitches of party or what color, and then whatever, about, you know, a good half a yard or so of the semi-solid color. And that yarn was designed for the solar eclipse.
Right.
That's originally what, and
Because you are an Oregonian.
yeah, I am from Oregon, and so in my house was 100% zone.
Right.
So, it was a big deal. So,
Yeah.
so I made the yarn to, go along with it, and then I keep adding colors because it's just fun.
Right.
Other times I use design color, like, I'll go somewhere and nature will just provide me with something. I'll go, hey, I want to see what that looks like. And sometimes I just think, in my head, I'm like, hey, that would look really good if we could figure out how to make this and this. But see, sometimes I can actually see the knitting before I actually even dye the yarn.
Right. And we were holding something that we're actually pretty excited about. We saw these for the first time in TNNA earlier this year, and they've been on our minds since then. You brought them into the shop today. So tell us what you have going on here.
So here I have the natural color. This is a full skein of yarn. It's 434 yards of merino yak and silk. Very soft, very luscious. It has a nice tight twist, so it's got a nice hand to it. And then each kit comes with a sparkle and a speckle, and they gradient across, and it comes with 3 free patterns when you purchase the kit, which you will have access to that. Mm-hmm. And the speckle, the skeins that are in the middle are a 75% superwash, 25% nylon, like a true sock yarn. But the reason I picked these minis is because they're really soft to match this softness, and the twist is similar, so they're going to behave the same in the knitting and or crochet, depending on what you're choosing to do.
And that's the great thing, because it comes with 3 patterns, 2 of which are knit. We've got this mosaic piece over here, and this guy with the lace panels, and then the crochet piece, which is always important to us because one of our least things to hear in like industry events and yarn things is that, you really didn't need to bother with crocheters because they're not spendy. They're not going to come to your shop and participate the way knitters are, such as Matt. And that has not been our experience. Heidi will tell you that,
that's what I do here. I crochet, I give crochet classes, and people come.
Yeah, people come.
You put in the time, they'll come.
And your yarn bases aren't just like, well, here's something that is called wool.
No. So I come to the business because I'm a knitter. So I calculated, and I have champagne taste. So I look at it like this. If it's something I want to knit with, then most likely it is something that I'm going to be able to sell to somebody else. So all my lines are soft or take color well in a way. I find for what I'm doing for my business, superwash seems to sell better than not, but but I have a tendency to like silk, so I have an awful lot of silk in almost everything I do. Yeah. And that's just because I like it, kind of thing. And so when I started, when I first started, I only had 3 lines, but now we're up to about 12 lines.
Yeah, that's incredible.
And about 24 colors in every line.
Heidi has been clutching this one.
This is my favorite.
These colors.
How many colors do these come in?
I think we're up to like 8 colors. I started with 5 when I first did it in whatever that June.
Yeah.
And then I've added, there's a red and there's a real purple, not so whiny, an actual real purple, I know. And then there's a aqua, the orange, the navy, and I think we're gonna also come out with yet another one in the January. That I haven't quite figured out which one it's going to be yet, but there will be.
And it's there's so much about this that is absolutely on trend for this moment in crafting and design, because mini skeins are getting bigger and bigger. Mm-hmm. And gradient projects have been big for the last couple of years, and there's have that momentum. Being able to control it and pair it with these naturals and these little bits with stranded color work or the mosaic knitting and the panels of color with that neutral background, you're seeing that sort of really stunning color combination with neutral. And so this is like right on that edge.
The other thing I like about this one is that it doesn't have too much speckle.
Right.
Because speckle yarns, people, they like them, they're attracted to them, they buy them, and then they're like, well, now
what do I do with this?
What do I do with it? So this is just enough that you get to have a little bit of it, but not.
We saw between TNNA in 2018 and TNNA in 2019 that a lot of the places that had gone all in on speckles either reverse course or didn't show up again the next year. I think, and a lot of that has been like that visual texture of the speckles. We're starting to see more like actual physical texture and like the variation. So
I agree.
I think this is really cool. You've got that touch of it, that taste of the speckles, and they're still.
But it's
there,
also tonal speckles. It's not. So that's the other thing about speckles. Speckles can get really muddy or too busy.
Yeah.
With too many colors, and this one's all tonal in it, so it's a little more cohesive, I think, as well.
So we've been really excited about these. And I've been showing off photos of our TNA trip to our local guild at one of our meetings in the last couple of months, and had a slide where I was showing them. And then we've had a few people come in today and leave with one, which is so cool. So I think this you're definitely onto something with, and I hope to see more things like this from you because it's super cool.
Yeah, we're coming out with something new next year.
Yeah, and so
I'm working with a designer for another design.
Yeah,
we'll come out with something else. Yeah.
That's awesome. So you also rebranded recently, right?
I did.
So we might know your business by another name.
I used to be Alexandra's Crafts for about 8 years, and now I'm Alexandra the Art of Yarn, and it's really interesting. First of all, nobody should ever rebrand and take it lightly. Please just plan the first time. It's a nightmare.
Yeah.
It's like moving, having not moved for like 40 years.
Oh, right.
Oh, God. And so that's one thing. But the other thing is really interesting when you change your logo, because all of a sudden now I'm noticed by people that I've known who they were in the industry,
Right.
but they wouldn't never give me the time of day. But now because I have a logo they like,
Now you're a different person.
now I'm a different person.
Right. And I've seen, when I was doing a little research on the way, like preparing for your visit, that we can find your yarns on Ravelry as Alexandra's Crafts still.
Yep.
And they're coming in as Alexandra the Art of Yarn. So we'll put links to both of those places. It's the same person. It's the same company with a sort of new lease on its life.
When you go to Alexandra's Crafts, like if you Google that, it'll show you a website link. You'll click on that, it'll immediately redirect you to Alexandra the Art of Yarn.
So Alexandra is still crafting. But
Still
the company is Alexandra the Art of Yarn.
Alexandra the Art of Yarn.
So we will give you all the information you need to find out more about Alexandra and her work and the yarns that she has available. You can also always give us a call or email to see what we have in stock, and we can always get a line up if you need something special. We're happy to work and get it for you. Well, thank you very much for coming and talking to us today. We've got to get back into the shop because there's no telling who's come. We had such a busy morning. After a Stitches weekend, are people yarned out? We've been selling yarn at this show all weekend. Are people going to... Oh, they came.
They came.
They came first thing.
We should order lunch. And then an hour later, we never ordered lunch. It got so busy.
It was good.
It's an exciting time, yeah.
It's an exciting time.
Thank you so much.
Thank you so much.
And we will see you soon. Thanks a lot.
Bye.